Hey y'all, welcome back. This one may be a little rough. I got the sun in my face. It's like almost 60 degrees Fahrenheit here in the northern United States, which in February is really rare. So I'm going golfing today. I got a little time, so we're going to just go through the top plays this game week, and I'm going to shut her down there. Less in depth, but hopefully it gives you something to look at. Tyrese Halliburton, still your best player of the week. So the L10s didn't change over the weekend. I was worried they would count the All-Star Game stuff in with everybody's L10 scores because they're listed on the pages, but they did not. So good choice, Sorare. But that means our L10s didn't change week over week. We have the same ones, so I just plugged in updated minutes. Halliburton, still your best play with 2 games this week. If you've got a Halliburton, you know that you should play him. Bull has been getting more minutes, 26 averaged over his last 3. Only 1 game for Phoenix, so big risk here. L10 is still of 16, and that's going to go up, so maybe you take the shot. I think a lot of people won't play him just because he has the 1 game this week, but high-end estimate in his normal range with that many minutes would be almost 40, 43.32. I don't know. I'll probably throw him in there just because I don't think I'm going to win anyway, so if he does go crazy, maybe you get a big bump. Trey Mann's still playing. LaMelo Ball still hasn't returned. 2 games for the Hornets. If he can continue to play in that 30-minute range, he's a good play. 25 for the difference between his top-end normal range and his L10. Keegan Murray remains a good play. A lot of the same guys from last week are on this list, so you can revert back to the old video if you don't like this one. Benedict Mathurin at 19 has been getting huge minutes. Now this is tied into Aaron Nesmith being out. I think if Nesmith returns, the minutes go down a little bit for Mathurin, but this guy is on the upswing for sure, and a 19 L10, he's certainly playable. Jordan Clarkson in Utah, he was on the list last week, 33 minutes, pretty steady, high end of 43. I think you can play him with some confidence. Keegan Murray, we skipped over that one. He's getting big minutes in Sacramento. Obviously, he can put you up high 40s. And a 22 is a nice L10 for him. Jokic hits the board here at a 55. He's been playing some bigger minutes with everybody. He's been playing some bigger minutes in Denver. A few more minutes than normal for him lately, and that just pushes his top end much higher into that high 70s range. He's probably the top play overall this week. We have Trey Murphy in New Orleans at a 23. Now, New Orleans has some suspended guys. They have some injuries, so he's been getting some more minutes, and he's a decent player, so he can get you in the 40s for sure. And a 23, that's a playable guy this week. Jamal Murray in Denver, back from injury, looks good. 36 minutes, 56 for an upside. Tyrese Maxey's playing huge minutes, 57. Only 1 game for Philly, though. De'Aaron Fox looks like he's refired a little bit, and that's encouraging. A couple of big games over the weekend, 43 L10 still, and he's projected in the low 60s. I wouldn't mind getting him in. Duncan Robinson looks like a nice play in Miami. They got a couple guys suspended. He could have 1 bigger game, and they actually have 3 this week. So I'd get him in. If you have a Duncan Robinson, you can fit him in pretty nicely. He's an 18. Grayson Allen in Phoenix. Bradley Beal's been out. Now Eric Gordon went out last game, so we'll see what happens with him. Again, 1 game for Phoenix, but a 22 L10. Allen can certainly go off. He gets big minutes every night. Damian Lillard in Milwaukee looks like he's coming around a little bit. 2 games for the Bucks, 55.5. Darius Garland is still at 23. Mitchell came back, and Garland's minutes came down a little bit from the 36 range down to the lower 30s, but still at a 23. I think he's a play for sure. Chris Murray, if you got one of his cards at auction, there aren't too many floating around, so they're going to be expensive. But he's a 9 L10, and he's been getting in the mid-20s for minutes, so I think you can play him. Still 1 game for Portland, so big risk there. Giannis, you know what to do with Giannis. Get him in. This is a good time to play him. Herb Jones has been getting huge minutes in New Orleans. We got 2 games for them. And again, with the suspensions, 44 for a top end. I think he can do better than that. I've seen it. 25 L10. He's available. Jabari Smith just had a huge game, almost a 20 rebound game yesterday. 27 L10. He's been getting the most minutes on the Rockets, and he can put you up in the high 40s. Cole Anthony's interesting. Minutes have been increasing lately, and I think he's still capable, still 0.98 for points per minute, so it's come down a little bit from where it was earlier in the season, but if he can regain some form, this is definitely a guy you can use. 2 games for Orlando this week. Goga's in there, and now with Jonathan Isaac going down with an injury last game, I think he might continue to play a little bit. Even with just 13 minutes, he becomes an option at a 7 with a 25.5 top end. I think you might want to look this direction. He's interesting. Another lower-end guy, Jordan Hawkins, going to be more expensive because he only has rookie cards available. 18 minutes is what he's averaged over the last 3. And again, with their injuries and suspensions, I think he's in play this week. He can get you top end, higher 20s, maybe even 30. Evan Fournier's minutes are coming down just a hair, but he's still only a 9. Again, it's Detroit, so they'll probably keep using him even though he sucks. Lauri Markkanen in Utah. Utah is an interesting team. They're going to have a lot of guys on this list. Markkanen, 34 minutes on average over the last 3. That can translate into high 50s sometimes, but mid 50s for a top end of his normal range. 2 games for Utah. 36 for Jared Allen. He's been getting big minutes for Cleveland. I think that puts him in the low 50s on a good night, so you can certainly get him in if you have one. Zaire Williams in Memphis, so Conchar is already ruled out for tonight. They kind of play the same position, and Williams has been playing a little better lately, so might want to give him a look. 2 games for Memphis, 34 for a top end for a 17 is pretty good. Anthony Black in Orlando, so they've had some injuries in their backcourt. He's been starting, he's been getting in the low to mid 20s, and he's not real effective, but for a top end of his normal range, he can still get you in the low to mid 20s in 2 games for Orlando. So if he continues to start, he might be worth looking at a 7. But again, he is also a rookie and doesn't have as many cards floating around, so his prices will remain a little higher. Haywood Highsmith in Miami. So Miami has a bunch of guys suspended, at least for this first game. They also have some injuries at their wing position, at their power forward position, and Haywood Highsmith is kind of a versatile guy who can play a bunch of different positions. He's a 13 L10. I expect him to get minutes, and he could actually get bigger minutes than the 26 I'm estimating. If that happens, you can certainly put him in the 30s. If he gets in the 30s in minutes, you might even look at 40. 3 games for the Heat, so you got multiple opportunities for this guy, and he's at 13. I'd have him in if you have one. You could probably work that in nicely. 29, Derek White. I think we said last time if White's under 30, might as well just roll him out there. He had a nice game over the weekend for you if you did, so I'd roll him out there again. Michael Porter at 26, I think is a nice play. Denver with 2. Boston only got 1 game, so that's a risk. Denver with 2. I think you can throw him out there if you want to work him in. Sohan's minutes are up from about 30 to 33 lately. 22 L10's pretty low. Get him in for sure. 2 games for San Antonio. Towns is the best play in Minnesota probably this weekend. He's a 35 L10, getting about 34 minutes, which puts him in the 50s. 2 games for the Wolves. Bruno Fernando. Okay, so Okongwu is still going to be out. Capella is back, but he's been playing lower than his normal minutes. He's been playing in that 17, 18 range, and so has Bruno Fernando, so they're kind of splitting it up right now. I've been waiting for Bruno's minutes to get up to that high teens rather than low teens, and he's there. And when he's in the high teens, I think you can hit a 30 if you're lucky. 2 games for Atlanta. Might want to look at him. He's only at 13. Trace Jackson-Davis's minutes are up a little bit. Still not great, but right around 14, 15 most nights, and he's productive, so he can get you in that same range, a little lower than Fernando, but right around the same L10. Here's another one. Taylor Hendricks in Utah, another rookie. So cards are going to be a little more expensive for him, but they're not too bad. He's been getting a lot more minutes. I think 23 is a low-end estimate for him. He could be 25, 26. Not super productive, but still a guy you can use. 2 games for Utah, 26.41 on a 10. Yeah, you can use that. If you've got a Wemby's just on fire right now. I think you probably know what to do with your Wemby if you have one. That doesn't go for most of us. Karis LeVert, 24. I don't love Karis LeVert. I think these minutes might be a little high. Still, this is a guy that can hit you 40. I would check the team context, see if anybody's out, if any of the backcourt guys sit. he's a decent option. Devin Booker, 44 L10. He's been getting bigger minutes in Phoenix. I think he can get you 60 on a good night, but only one game for Phoenix, so that's a risk. Who else we got? JV in New Orleans. Jonas Valanciunas, I would say yes this week for sure with all the stuff going on. I've got his high-end range right under 44, but I think, yeah, I mean, this is a guy, if he becomes the focal point of the offense, which that can happen 1 or 2 games a year, it seems like he puts up these huge games. I mean, he can get you a high-end outlier. This might be the week for it. 2 games for New Orleans. Nick Richards' minutes still around 30. 21 L10. Mark Williams hasn't played since December 9th, so who knows what's going on with him. 36 for a top end on a 21 isn't bad. Miles Turner, minutes have been a little higher. L10 still just 30. He can certainly get you into the high 40s. He can do higher than that. I've seen it this year already. Kevin Huerter, minutes are back up to around that 27 range, 22 L10. Yeah, I mean, this guy can just get hot, put up a high 30s for you sometimes, 2 games. Jaime Jaquez, his point per minute really isn't very good. 17 L10. It's pretty low, though. I think he can get you in the 30s, especially this week with all these guys out. Three chances at it for him. And only issue with him is he's a rookie and his cards will be more expensive. Scotty Barnes in Toronto. You can always play him. I don't love it, though. Team context changing kind of knocked him down, at least in my opinion. But he can still put up some big games. Manuel Quickly, same team, getting 35 minutes. I think you can use him for sure. 2 games for Toronto. Bam did not get suspended, unfortunately. That was kind of my hope. I thought Orlando Robinson would be a great fill-in, and he still will be at some point, so I'm not too worried about it. But it's not going to be this week. Bam didn't get suspended. He's getting 35 minutes, and with all these guys out, he may actually have more usage than normal, so this top-end number might be a little low. He could get you in the high 50s this week, and 3 chances at it for Miami. I think Bam's a great play. Jovic got suspended for 1 game for leaving the bench, but he's been playing again, so I would estimate his minutes at about 16 when he gets back out there. He's fairly productive at .89. I think he's better than this. 27 for a top end on a 12 is pretty good, and I've got him at 2 games since he's suspended for the Heat's first game, but he's still going to have 2 chances at it this week, and I think he's in there. Jaylen Brown, 33 L10. 34 minutes, I'm estimating. He's high 40s. Just 1 game for Boston. Kind of boring. Landry Shamet, 20 minutes on average over the last 3. That puts him in that 25 range for a top end. Not great, but at an 11. Might want to look at him. He's probably going to be cheap. Paul Reed's minutes are coming down a little bit. Still playable, but only 1 game. I'd probably skip him. Durant in Phoenix, you can always throw him in, but only 1 game. Malik Monk, minutes are down a little bit. Production's good. 2 games for Sacramento. You can take a shot at him. Who else do we want to talk about here? Oh, here's a 2. Bryce Sensabaugh. He's been getting time. I estimate him about 15 minutes, which puts him probably in that 15-point range top end. He's not real productive, but at a 2L10, I mean, if you want to work a guy in, they don't come much cheaper than that. He is a rookie, so his cards will be more expensive. And looks like my golf partner's here, so we're going to cut it here today.
Damn it.